Hey everybody, we're going to be covering a couple of different things today, and it's all going to add up to maintaining balance and contributing to the danceability of your track. Overall, it's grooviness, right? Originally, I explained this while chopping each individual section, but I think it's going to be easier to show you guys where I copy and pasted, where I made a variation, and what's going on with the bass line without writing it in the process, okay? Well, let's just listen to it first. I'm going to play the first 8 bars, and I'm going to play it again with the bass line all the way through. Right, simple enough. With the bass line. And then here is the unfinished part. Why is it unfinished? Because I didn't have anything here yet. I don't have anything here, but I already know sort of how I'm going to come out of it because it's established. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. Something I do want to point out is a lot of times these bass lines are going to tighten themselves up if you give it a session or two, because something I noticed is it really wants to follow the vocal shot here. See how I have a hit there, but I don't have a hit here? And you can kind of feel that lack of space, but it's hard to get there when you're focusing on all this up here, but it's kind of obvious when I load up my next session, right? Like it just wants to hit on the vocal shot. So that's something I'm going to add in later. And down here, you can see like I was just already doing it. So this is very stream of conscious, and then it just kind of works itself out. So let's mute that for now and go into patterns, okay? So remember, these breaks mostly come from funk, right? Hip hop, big evolution from funk, among other genres, but funk is very important. Now, if this were a funk record and not a jungle track, it would be more like 90 BPM, right? So, well, we have 64 bars of jungle. You know, we more so have 32 bars of like a groovy, easy to process tune, right? That's the important part. The 32 bars is easier for the brain to process. Now, we're going to use that to kind of make it a little harder to process, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but we're just sending a lot of information out, right? But we're trying to find, talking about it sounds really confusing and useless. So let me just show you. So we're going to go through our subdivisions just one at a time because it gets so confusing so fast when you just start throwing numbers around. Here's a bar. Not really complete, but 2 bars. That is complete. That's 1 bar in halftime. This is like 1 bar repeating itself for 8 bars. Well, I have a fill here. So 7 bars repeated in a fill. It's not that I'm saying that while I write it, but when I zoom out, I kind of look at that part too, right? It's not so much that there's a right or wrong here, but I can like make sure that there's something to latch on to through that idea. Okay? So let's start from here. See, it really helps with the fills because you can get those 2-bar fills, but you know it's 1 bar within an 8-bar context, which is 80 BPM. Now, that allows us to use this very, very popular DnB pattern. I got it from Stamina by the Dream Team. It's probably like my favorite track. I mean, it just goes up and up and up. So you can use this across DnB, wherever. 2 bars into 1 bar, right? Well, here, let's just mute this. So I'm just assuming you know the 2-step jungle rhythm and DnB rhythm and stuff, right? You know kit snare, and then you got the 16th notes in there. That's what's going on here across 2 bars in 80-ish BPM. Here's my 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the backbeat are my 8th notes, right? Isn't that cool? So if you look, I have the 2-step across this pattern. So ignore Bitwig's native time markers and look at mine where the plus signs are 8th notes. There's a snare on my 2, there's a snare on my 4, and on the end of my 3, there's a kick, right? But this is stretched out across 2 bars, which means snare on 5, which is like jungle superpower, if you ask me, snare on 5. Why is it snare on 5 and not snare on 1? Again, we're going back to those 80 BPM rhythms. I'm just going to say 80. If we put snare on 1, it doesn't really do what we want it to do. It's just not what we typically do. Now, that being said, if you have like a lead line of snares, you can put that wherever. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but if you dial in the breaks right, you can just layer kicks and snares from different breaks. It's disorienting and you can't just open up with it, but it works. You can work your way into it and, you know, kind of make the listener go, whoa, what's happening? And it's because you're layering your kicks and snares. But that's something else. So that's how I kind of opened the pattern up between these two 16-bar sections, right? I'll unmute this. And then I have a response to that part as well. I don't want to just repeat those 2 bars over and over, right? So I ain't just go, I'll write this bar, I'll write this bar. I listen to this. And then I responded with this. And then, of course, the bass is having fun down there. So we're through 32 bars. That's 16 bars and 80 BPM. Okay. Here's our other 32. I copy and pasted the first 8 bars of this, but then I changed up the last 8 bars. I made that kind of more interesting with these snare hits down here, you see? Yeah, but here I return to the theme. Let's get to it. Something else that's important here that really helps keep the track moving, I copied the break, changed up the bass line, right? So like right here, you can see I used that original bass line again. Sometimes you can get a little bit fatigued while making this, right? You can get a little tired. That's okay. It can be it can be demotivating when you're like, "Oh, I need another 64 bars to keep going." Like that it can be like, "Do I want to do this now?" And it's not a matter of like not enjoying it. It's just like it's an uphill climb. That's okay. It's a fun uphill climb, but you have to start. So and sometimes you just don't want to start again. So what I did was I copy and pasted half of a break, half of a section, and then I made a response to the section. Very musical, probably smarter and more danceable than not doing so, right? It's balanced. Now here is where I would get crazy. It's where I plan to get crazy. I'll show you what I mean. Remember that the listener has already heard this entire part right here. That is the second part. I'm honestly probably going to start right there. At this point, you have 16 bars to build up and then let go, right? And you can let go with stretch snares and just like weird glitchy bits and stuff like that could use some work right here. Baseline is probably going to need changed, but you can see how this whole thing is a transition out of this. actually sounds really good. I like it. We'll keep it. Real quick, I just want to talk about how to analyze these more complicated bits, or at least how I do it. When I'm driving around listening to Jungle or something, I'm not paying attention to the whole break. I'm paying attention to the backbeat, and I'm paying attention to the downbeat, and I'm switching my attention back and forth while counting to 8 or 16, not 4. You want to be able to see call and response while you're counting this, and you can say, what's happening with the 3. Is there a snare on the 5? That's always an important question. Is there a snare coming in on the 5? Is there a snare coming in on the end of the 5? Are heavy kits coming in on 16th notes? So remember, halftime within Jungle and DnB is something you can exploit, and it's not so much a rule you have to follow, but you can maintain balance and just continuous groove throughout more complicated bits when you utilize like an 80 BPM groove in a double time fashion, pretty much. If you found this helpful, don't forget to check out the Patreon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.